Please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Carey?
Mr. Talty?
Present.
Mr. Conti?
Here.
Ms. Cusinelli? Mr. Panucci?
Here.
Ms. Suter?
Here.
Mr. Reed? Ms. Cantilla?
Here.
The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Brick Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be posted on the Administration Office Bulletin Board, the official district website, and Channel B TV 20, and sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Brick Times, the Star Letter, and Municipal Clerk's Office.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Do I have a motion to enter executive session?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Panucci. And Mr. Conti?
Whereas the Brick Township Board of Education has been formed pursuant to the applicable New Jersey statutes, and whereas the board is charged with the responsibility of performing all acts and doing all things consistent with law and the rules of the State Board of Education, necessary for the lawful and proper conduct, equipment, and maintenance of the public schools and public school property of the Brick Township School District, and whereas Section 7 of the Open Public Meeting Act permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting of the board in certain circumstances, and whereas the board has determined that circumstances exist for such an executive session, and whereas the board has found the action described below to be necessary and proper, now therefore be resolved by the board on July 31st, 2014, that the public shall be excluded from the discussion of and action on the executive session herein set forth. The session will be approximately 45 minutes, and the general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is student and personnel matters. It is anticipated at this time that the above stated subject matter will be made public if and when it is deemed to be in the public interest to do so, and the need for confidentiality is no longer required by the board.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Mrs. Carey?
Mr. Talty?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes.
Ms. Suter?
Yes.
Ms. Cantilla?
Yes. I need a motion to re-enter public session.
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Panucci.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Conti.
Mr. Talty?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes.
Ms. Suter?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Cantilla?
Yes. Mr. Mosley, would you like to come up to the podium?
Good evening. We're going to go over the second half of the year for bullying and training. Thank you for allowing me to speak. What we've seen here is what we've supported into the system for training for both periods. We look and say, wow, period one, we did so much more training. However, period one, we first start with everyone getting up to speed. That includes all the new teachers and all that we do at the beginning. A lot of emphasis also with initial training to the students and all that. So the first half appears we did a lot more. But if you also look, you'll notice that the second half we also did 26 other things that still are required, giving us a total of 32 events training-wise. The 5 that you see are also all district level training that we did with the substitutes. Programs. And here you see where things shift into the second half. We do a lot more programs with the students, whereas at the beginning we're doing a lot more training. There's programs to pick up, and those programs are assemblies and other things that we continue to keep the emphasis on at the anti-bullying program. Guest speakers, Kelso training packages that we do with a lot of the elementary schools,
things some of the schools are doing character development wise. And that's why you'll see that happen more in the second half, besides the emphasis on training. This is an actual hit that we actually had this year, 62 investigations, both first half and second half. However, if you notice, our drop comes with actual conviction information. And all those 13 that you say in the second half are the ones that are protected in both sessions. So we're moving in the right direction. This is the anti-bullying personnel that we have in each school. I just want to read, make sure that everyone knew who they were and where they were all located. And these are things that we will be working with this year. And this is the rest of the school. Never knew. I just want to highlight a few events here, and I did by grade level. In high school, one of the things that we did do was the Society of Great Game Changers. And that was a group of students that we pulling together for both schools. We see that we actually did a presentation right across the street in the public library. Both schools collaborated, they worked with school-based, myself, and they did some readings for the public on different bullying things that would happen. A lot of that was dealing with gay students, and we pulled meetings from different events, including the student that was beat to death out west. Assemblies continued, interaction with the school base. We use the school base on both sides of town. They do a lot of the counseling with the kids, and we also get referrals from them. The kids feel free to go in there if they're having problems, and they'll come in. Guidance counselors have been very involved. I know I work heavily with ones in Great Memorial on different events and counseling, and I did have to include this because that is the last step that we do use in trying to correct the student's behavior. Middle school assemblies again. We did a stay in your lane presentation at the end of the year to both middle schools, and that was mainly to the 8th graders to tell them, hey, going to high school now, understand what's going on at the high school level, and stay in your lane, make sure they understood what was expected of them coming to high school. Once again, guidance counselors, counseling, and discipline. Elementary schools, assemblies, character education. We have the elementary schools, a lot of different programs that they're using. Automatically, I thought about what Brett Novick did over at Osborneville in conjunction with Black History Month, character education, great program he ran there. In Herbertsville, they have a monthly lunch with the principal. Once again, these students, talk to the kids. And once again, I think one of the emphasis has to be on making contact with the kids so they understand what proper behavior is. Discipline, again, Kelso's Choices, and other programs that we're using throughout the schools. School year this year, just a few things to look forward to. We already looking at a meeting at the ABS this last week in August to kind of get things jumping for next year. Week of Respect, we will be doing as mandated. Continue emphasis on good character. Better administrative interface with Evers. Now that we are reporting to the board, kind of have to make sure that everything's getting into the system for D&Bs as well. Continued reduction of bullying incidents, financing and grants. We did get a grant last year, so we're going to continue to look for more money to help us do different programs, see if we can get some more outside speakers, and have a self-assessment package that we'll be completing by the end of September on how we're doing as a program. And that is my report for the second half. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mosley.
Thanks, Kevin.
Moving on to approval of minutes, June 18th, 2014 special meeting, June 26th, 2014 executive session, June 26th, 2014 regular meeting. I need a motion and a second.
Motion?
Thank you, Mrs. Cusinelli.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Conti. Does anyone have any questions on these minutes? Seeing none. Mrs. Carey?
Mr. Talty?
Yeah, yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes on June 18, abstain on June 26th. I had a wake that evening.
Ms. Sudar?
I abstain on June 18th and yes to June 26th.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Cantillo?
Yes. Moving on to committee reports. Mrs. Cusinelli, Communications and Public Engagement.
Thank you, Ms. Cantillo. I want to be real brief and direct everybody on the district website. We do have the graduation ceremonies. If you'd like to see the videotapes, there's a little bit of a glitch and a little delay on the Brick Memorial one, but that's coming soon. And you can see that both middle schools and Brick High School, those will be forthcoming on BTV as well. Also coming up, we'll have our newest edition of the newsletter, so keep checking the website, and that should hopefully be along very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Cusinelli. Curriculum and Instruction, Mrs. Sudar.
Thank you. We couldn't have a formal meeting with everybody's schedule for the summer. The Lead and Seed Middle School program, we approved this program for both middle schools last month to bring awareness of substance abuse through the participation of the students. The program will consist of 12 students and 12 adults, both the staff and community members. A selection process for community members and students will be developed. And Dr. Morgan, since you seem like you're spearheading this, can I ask that any selection process is put on the website so the entire community maybe can apply to work on this program, as well as all the students somehow put it on the website and maybe send out a Honeywell alert system so the students know that this is something that they might like to get involved with?
Thank you very much for the input. Once, we are going to be discussing the whole process in about a week with the police force as well as the other members of the committee, then we certainly will share the update with you.
Well, I'd also like the selection process go out to all the students in the middle school, both middle schools, as well as the community members, not just the staff or the parents, but there may be other people, some seniors who might like to get involved with this. So if you could just make sure it's out there so people can see it, that's all.
Thank you.
Ocean County Vocational School. This year, 125 students from Brick Township and 94 from Brick Memorial were accepted to the vocational school. Students are introduced to the school through the guidance counselors and the annual open house that they hold. Special education students can apply for enrollment in their freshman year, and all other students apply in January of their sophomore year. Dr. Caldez said students are accepted on a first-come, first-served basis, and acceptance is based on grades, attendance, and discipline record. The K-12 Social Studies curriculum. In May, Mr. Bruno and Mr. Lukorczyk informed the committee of possible modifications needed to the K-12 curriculi. A committee of staff members will continue discussions to ensure there are no gaps or redundancy. The implementation will occur over a number of years. I also would like to mention all of the teachers that have been involved with this. This has been a work in progress over probably the last year. I want to thank not only Mr. Bruno and Mr. Lukorczyk and Dr. Morgan, but Mr. Asaro, Ms. Rivera, Mr. Mosley, Ms. Rodolfo, Ms. Riddell, Mrs. Brown, Ms. Malarkey, Mr. Morelli, Mr. Custer, Ms. Ramirez. Their work is going to continue for many, many months. I don't remember the last time the social studies curriculum was even looked at. So I thank you all for everything that you're doing. 2 new programs for Brick Township High School, the extended day, or it was also known as Rebound over at Brick Memorial. This is for non-classified high school students who cannot function during the regular school day and fall behind in graduation credits. Brick Township, starting in September, will have the exact same program as Brick Memorial. The other change, it was in the program of studies, was the SAT review class. There's 2 parts to that class, a math and an English part. You used to have to take both, which is one semester. Now you can take one or the other. If you do really well on the English portion of the SAT, but not so good on the math, you can just take the math portion, and it will be accommodated on an AB schedule. So those are two changes to the Brick Township High School. The committee was informed via email on June 13th that during the 2014-2015 school year, both Brick Township High School and Brick Memorial High School will be offering a full year of instruction in College Prep English 1 and College Prep Algebra for freshmen only. This will be done on an AB schedule. All honor and special education English 1 and algebra classes will remain the same. So any freshmen, incoming freshmen in September, taking the College Prep English and the College Prep Algebra will be on an AB schedule. I would like some clarification on the sophomores. Any sophomore who failed English 1 or Algebra, I guess I'll ask you, Dr. Calda, since I was going back and forth with you. Brick Memorial sophomores will be on an AB schedule, but not Brick Township? Is that, am I getting that?
Brick Township could be on an AB schedule or on a semester, because they have a number of students that are doubling up in math their freshman year.
The
So there's a-
sophomores
so
are
the so-
doubling up?
No, the freshmen, but if they failed, they'll have the option of taking either a semester, because there'll be freshmen at Brick Township High School doing both, on an AB schedule, and there'll be students who are doubling up in math, taking both algebra and geometry. So to accommodate them this year, because those students had made a decision before we went to the AB, we did not want to discourage them from doubling up. For this year, we're going to accommodate them by having a semester, first semester algebra, and then second semester geometry for only those who want to double up. Everybody else will be on an AB schedule.
So all the other freshmen who don't double up will be on an AB schedule in both high schools? Okay, but I'm asking about the sophomores who, the students who are going to be sophomores in September, who failed either the College Prep English 1 or the College Prep Algebra. Why is Brick Memorial having it on an AB schedule and Brick Township having it on a semester?
Brick Township High School has, credit to Mr. Philippon, they have a tremendous amount of students that are doubling up, where Brick Memorial does not have that, where a lot of the, we have more students doubling up in world language rather than math, which Brick High School has the math rather than world language their freshman year.
So because the freshmen are doubling up, the sophomores can't be on the AB schedule?
A sophomore could, if they failed, of course, they could take that AB.
Okay, that's what I'm trying, okay.
Yeah. There's two options for them. If
Okay, so they don't, okay, so if a sophomore in September, if they failed, they could be on the AB schedule, or they could be on the semester schedule at Brick Township High School and Brick Memorial.
At Brick Township High School, they could be on either or, but at Brick Memorial, there's only the AB, because we don't have the students doubling up in math.
Great, thank you very much. That's it, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Suter. Facilities, Mr. Reed?
I have a question first for Mrs. Suter. We know how many students were accepted into the vocational school, but we don't know how many were not accepted. Do we?
I didn't get that information, Mr. Reed.
Okay, because, I think that would be important for the community to know, because there was an article where our representative to the State Assembly, Mr. Wolf, Dave Wolf, is trying to promote more vocational school capacity in the area, and if we're not getting the students that wanted to go to vocational schools in there, that's an issue that we need to address. Also, I saw they're accepted on a basis, a criteria of their grades, their attendance, and their behavior. And I would think that grades might be a poor criteria, because that may be one reason that a student would be choosing a vocational career. That's just my opinion. Thank you. Okay, going to Facilities Committee. We met on July 21st, myself, Frank Panucci, Dr. Uzensky, Jim Edwards, Tom Liming, Walter Campbell, John Haifantis, and Mr. Iamello, Sanders, and Curry from our architectural group. A lot of the discussion, kind of paraphrasing the minutes here, revolved around the improvements to the Brick Township High School electrical system, the upgrades of the transformers, and the potential to complete the HVAC, the air conditioning and heating project that we want to move forward with here at Brick Township High School. What happened was we had an initial project budget of $425,000 for these upgrades, and when we put it out to bid, the lowest bidder was $713,000. So we spent quite a bit of time discussing what happened. You know, the engineer did recommend that we go to a 12 kilovolt system rather than a 5 kilovolt system, which is currently in place, because we would need the increased electrical capacity if we were going to do the HVAC project. The bottom line is that after our meeting, we did have some monies left over in the capital reserve account that we moved over into this year's capital reserve account. You'll see it as item number 28 in the agenda under operations tonight. And we're able to move forward this project in item number 29, going because we have $759,000, we're able to award this to the low bidder for $713,000 tonight. So that is on the agenda for approval by the board. Part of the discussion revolved around the use of Brick Township High School as an emergency shelter. You know, we're still trying to find out if there's funding for some of these projects, and we still don't have an answer for the township as to exactly what funding might be available to this high school if they decide to use it as an emergency shelter. We're moving forward with our ROD grant for allocation projects, exterior doors, about $1 million project for Brick Memorial High School, Lake Riv, Drum Point, Herbertsville, and Vets Elementary. The bid advertisements will be sent out shortly. We're also moving ahead with the fire alarms. Project budget is $1.7 million. This is for Brick Township High School, Drum Point, Emma Havens, Herbertsville, Osborneville, and Vets Elementary. Brick Memorial High School, there's going to be a new combo package consisting of a building chiller and a rooftop unit air conditioner on the gym roof. Project budget is about $1.5 million. This will require some supports to be added for the units on the roof next to the gym. We're moving forward on the Osborneville boiler replacement. The project budget is $382,000. And we're moving forward with a project budget of $2.8 million on the windows for Brick Memorial, Lake Riv, Vets Memorial Middle School, Drum Point, Lanes Mill Elementary, Osborneville, and Vets Elementary, and also midstreams. So that's $2.8 million for new windows. The mold issue. Mr. Edwards informed the committee that he has not heard anything back yet from the board attorney on how to proceed with the EEC building. You know, we have a mold problem over there that has rendered most of that building next to the Board of Ed administration building unusable. We are going to move forward with some of the rooms that we're going to make the necessary improvements on so that we can use it for this coming year. Overall building mold prevention, Mr. Liming informed the committee that the checklist provided by Dr. Lynch is being utilized in all of the buildings. There was some reports of mold. We had our staff and Dr. Lynch go out to examine the situations, and both reports came back that there was no presence of mold and or any mold spores in excess of normal limits. Parking improvements, right here at Brick Township High School, the Phase B, which is the front loop outside as you come to the front entrance, is scheduled to be done. It's on the board agenda as approved, and they should be finishing that project in August. Some of you know we have some sinkholes that have developed at the Veterans Complex right in front of the administration building. We've got proposals and investigatory work is being done, trying to figure out why we're getting these sinkholes. Thank you. Next meeting is August 18th. If you have any specific questions, please call me.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. You did such a great job with that. Would you like to give the finance report?
Wow, that's a thrill. Thank you. Our Finance Committee met on July 23rd. Myself, Ms. Cantillo, Mr. Talty, Dr. Uzensky, Mr. Edwards, and Mr. McFadden were present. Source for teachers. The contract for our substitute teachers is in review and will be ready for approval at the August 7th special board meeting. Extraordinary aid. Mr. Edwards informed the committee that the district has received its extraordinary aid allocation from the New Jersey Department of Education. The amount received, which was about $1.1 million, is less than was anticipated during the 14-15 budget development, where we budgeted about $1.3 million. Cafeteria. Proud to say that the year-to-date profit for the cafeteria was $55,355. I'll admit this cents because I don't know why we have that in the minutes. I guess some people like to see it. You know, as you've heard over the last 3 years, we've been trying very hard to bring the cafeteria into profitability, and this is the first year that we've been able to do that. We have a new director of food service, Janine Richardson, who started the first of the year, and a lot of the programs that were instituted before she got here, primarily the breakfast in the classroom, was responsible for a lot of the turnaround in this effort. We need to maintain the focus, keep it going, keep our students well fed so they're attentive and capable of learning at the max. What else is important here? We go over a lot of stuff. We met with the Transportation Department. Mr. Sangiovanni informed the committee that he believes the middle school athletic runs will be able to be done in-house this coming 14-15 school year. That's important. That'll save us, if we can do it in-house, about $34,000. We also, the agreement for the GPS system will be presented to the full board tonight, and we'd like to have that in place so that we can monitor where the buses are, how long they're idling, where they're going, and we have a complete track in case anybody questions whether or not a bus went by their stop and missed them. We approved Jump Scudellaro and Company as our auditor, and they have begun the audit for this past school year. Big discussion will be at our next meeting on August 7th about the state employee health benefit plan. The rates were announced for next year. They have a composite rate of a 10.9% increase for the health care for the district. I say it's a composite rate because it ranges up to 15%, I think, for family plans. So we're working on breaking out how many single, how many two adults, how many parent and child people are in each category. To be specific, For active employees, the increase in the family plan for the PPO medical is 12.6%, and for an employee and child and/or children, it's 15.1%. So these are huge increases. There are other alternatives other than the state health benefits plan that we've been examining, and we need to have a full discussion by the board, and I think that will be at our August 7th meeting, because there are alternatives out there. Some of you may know that Toms River School District has gone to a self-insurance program where they've been able to keep their costs level, and we're doing as much research as we can to find out exactly what's going on there and if that'll work for us. And School Board's Insurance Group, as you'll see on the agenda tonight, is covering all our policies other than workers' comp. As you know, we went to self-insured on workers' comp this year. They did increase our errors and omissions policy by $26,000. So every time somebody has a complaint against a board member or whatever, and we have to hire somebody to defend ourselves, that goes against our E&O, errors and omissions insurance, and cost the district extra money. So just keep that in mind when you don't like what we're doing. We can't all agree on everything. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Human Resources, Mr. Talty?
Thank you, Ms. Cantilla. On July 16th, Wednesday, the Human Resource Committee met, and in presence was Dr. Uzinski, excuse me, Dr. Morgan, Dr. Caldez, Mrs. Cusinelli, Ms. Cantilla, and myself. Among the many issues that were discussed was retirements. There was a long discussion about transfers. There was a discussion about interviews prior to our meeting on the 16th, and the fact that we had to hire a assistant principal for Brick High School. So we discussed those positions, the interview process that went on, and tonight the board will be asked to vote on the recommendations of the superintendent. Also, we discussed an issue where services were provided during the school year by employee or employees, and the board never authorized payment. So we had a discussion on that. And going further, it should be pointed out that any services that are offered to the school district, the monies that must be appropriated must be approved by the school board first before we provide those services. If the board does not approve those dollars and the person or persons perform those services, they will not, and I repeat, they will not be paid. So they must get board approval prior to performing those services. And I think I minimized it about as much as I could, Mrs. Kite.
Thank you, Mr. Talty. Mr. Panucci, New Jersey School Boards?
Yes, thank you. As most things in the state, not much was going on because of the summer months, but 3 items of importance that are worth noting. The governor has created a panel to oversee state testing, including the park. This committee will review the effectiveness of all student assessments and What this basically does is it slows down the use of data, as assessments will count as 10% of a teacher's evaluation, then in the 15-16 school year up to 20%. The original plan was to have assessments count as 30% of a teacher's evaluation. As far as Common Core curriculum goes and the implementation, this puts the brakes at least a little bit in New Jersey. As everybody knows reading the newspaper, it hasn't been just a problem in New Jersey, it's the rollout of it has been a problem nationwide. So this is a step, I believe, in the right direction. Also, the governor signed Senate Bill 2079, requiring schools to accommodate disabled students in sports. This will go into effect in the 15-16 school year. And as far as the State School Board Association, the Delegate Assembly resolution deadline is September 2nd. We're currently putting forward a resolution started by Mr. Reed for the State Association to consider in regards to workers' compensation. Basically, other public entities and private entities only have to pay 70%. We as a school district have to pay 100%. If the Delegate Assembly this is successful with, and then it gets moved to the legislature for a vote, this could be a boon not just to Brick Township, but to the entire state as a whole. That's all I have, though it's been a slow summer.
Thank you, Mr. Panucci. Mr. Conti, you're on the clock.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Cantillo, and I'm fine because Mr. Panucci stole my thunder with his first update because it is a rather slow month, but the biggest news coming out of the State House is essentially the executive order that takes a deeper examination of the park testing and reduces the amount of assessments to 10%, as Mr. Panucci so eloquently stated before. So I'm done.
Well, thank you. Dr. Uzinski, do you have a superintendent's report?
Thank you, Ms. Cantilla. Just quickly, if I may, first, let me say that the interview process that takes place, I want to thank the supervisors, principals, and central office staff that do such diligence at screening and choosing the candidates. And it's very difficult because we are getting outstanding candidates. And I know this evening we have the best of the best here that the Board of Education I'm making recommendations for. But it was a difficult process because, as I said, that the people that are coming to us are so well prepared, and it is an extremely difficult decision to make. But I want to thank the staff that participate in helping us to make that decision so that we can get the best of the best for Brick Township schools. I would also like to say that I wish that central office was slow for the summer, but we continue to move and forge. It is difficult for us to have meetings because we do try to take our vacation in the summertime, and therefore it's difficult to get everyone together. As Ms. Cusinelli said, Mrs. Suter said we couldn't have the CNI meeting. It's a difficult time, but we all need to energize our batteries and take a break. So with that said, I just want to remind the public, if they could, to please let the kindergarten parents know they need to come to register. We do have the registrations coming in, but they're sporadic. In the past 2 years that I've been here, in the last week of August, we get inundated. We have to buy supplies and materials, books, textbooks, the furniture, whatever we need, and we need to know how many students we have. So we're just about at the same as we were last year at this time, but they all wait to the end of August. So if you're watching this, please register your kindergarten children so that we know how many students we will have to accommodate. We do have some positions. I want to just clear this up. Many people hear rumors that there are openings in elementary. There's openings here, there's openings there. You could put a resume in. We do have Apple Track, but if you don't use the Apple Track, because I know as a former professor at Kean University, we tell the students in January, start sending out your resumes to all the superintendents in the county that you wish to work in, so that we will accept your resume. And if you don't put in an Apple Track, that's fine, because I get many resumes and we will accept those. Because there's rumors out there that if you don't put it into Apple Track, sorry. I will take it because I know that's what the colleges are professing to do, and I don't want to miss anyone that would be the best of the best. So please dispel that rumor that you could send your resume in. I will write on the top that you mailed it in or you sent it in. But we want anyone that's interested in becoming a member of the family of Brick Township Schools to please come forward. Also, again, I want to thank the principals and the supervisors that are here tonight, because I know how hard you're working getting prepared for your school year with all that you're doing and also trying to get vacations in. I applaud you for doing that so that we're not taking off during the school year. So I personally want to thank you for doing that, and I want the board to know that the administrators are doing that, taking them now this summer as opposed to throughout the year when we really need them in the buildings. So thank you again to everyone in our guidance department. I can't say enough about you, as you know that, and Mr. Mosley. So each and every one of our staff, I applaud you and I thank you. And again, I'm honored and privileged to be working with such a stellar group. And congratulations. Shortly, I'll have you come up after the board approves the new candidates. If you would come up to please address the board and welcome you. The board can formally welcome you into the family of Brick Township Schools. So again, thank you very much. Ms. Cantillo, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yuzinski. Moving on to curriculum and instruction, Dr. Morgan.
Thank you, Madam President. The superintendent recommends that the board approve the following items, number 1 through 9. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morgan. Do I have a motion and a second for items 1 through 9?
I'll make a motion.
Thank
Second.
you, Mrs. Suter, and thank you, Mr. Talty.
Second.
Do I have any questions from board members on these items? Mr. Conti?
Yeah, on number 5, I actually have a series of questions on the 4119.26 policy. And what I wanted to do, and I don't know if it's appropriate to do or not, but was just basically go through kind of the policy itself so that we have some talking points possibly for in between the first reading and second reading. Is that okay?
I think we're on human
Mr.
research.
Stradnick, do you have any problem with it?
Do that or whatever you want to do.
It's not a working session. It's really to think of an opportunity to read it.
I think
a suggestion for revised between.
This is the first reading, so I mean, I guess you could do that, or the bottom line is you can introduce it with the understanding that whatever comments you have, I don't know, Mike, if it's what would be the best way if you submitted them to the committee and to the board between the first and the second reading?
I mean, it's up to them. You know, there's a lot of stuff here that is added that I think that is you know, not in the spirit of S 441 that is kind of, you know, restricting our staff more so than it is necessarily protecting our staff.
You know what, Mike, Mr. Conti, how about if you put everything together, submit it to Mrs. Cusinelli to go over with Dr. Yuzinski, and we will have, if it's all done by our August 7th meeting, maybe we can have a small discussion once everything's, you've gone back and forth with each other, yourself and the committee?
Yeah.
And then August 7th, I'm not sure if we're going to have that on the agenda for a second reading.
No, not for
No?
second reading, not till
Just-
the end of
just-
August.
Just a discussion. If you would like to do it that way?
Yeah, I mean, if
Just
it's
in the-
if it's more appropriate to do it, then absolutely. I mean, like as I said, there's just multiple things here that are a little bit vague, a little bit restrictive, you know, that I think hinder the educational process versus, you know, helping it. So that's all. If that's what the preference is, then I'm good with that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Conti. Anyone else? Mr. Reed?
I agree with that. I would like to see the full board discussion of any thoughts they have about this policy at the August 7th meeting,
Yes.
since we won't be loaded up with a lot of administrative details.
I'm totally on board with that.
Good. Okay.
Ms. Cantillo?
Yes.
I would ask if possible that the concerns of Mr. Conti and Mrs. Cantillo, Mrs. Cusinelli, that I be provided with what their concerns are, because there seems to be a difference here at this point.
Well, it's not really between Mr. Conti and Mrs. Cusinelli. Mrs. Cusinelli is working with Dr. Yuzinski on policies. So there's not a disagreement between the two board members, I want to make that clear. What we're going to do is, Mr. Conti is going to put in writing his concerns. We're going to share them. I will share them with the entire board
Okay.
for discussion at our August 7th, which is really a work session. It's a board retreat and more appropriate place to discuss that. So we don't have to approve it on a second reading until our August meeting. So everyone will be everyone has a copy of the policy. If anyone else has any concerns, please send them to me. I will put everything together and I'll disseminate it to the board.
So when could I expect to get the information?
Well,
Do you mind, Ms. Cantillo?
Yes.
If it's okay, I can probably email them to whomever needs them tomorrow.
Okay, that'd be great.
You know what I think would be helpful, if it's all right, if all the board members, since we all have it, if you could break down the specific things in the policy as it stands right now in this first reading, and, you know, either highlight or just give me a list, and then maybe we can then get that compiled and have Doc send that out to the whole board, and then this way, if we could do it by, you know, the first couple days in August, so everyone has a chance to investigate everything, and then when we come together for the work session, then we all have each other's comments in advance, so I think that would probably streamline the process. And then the end of August, it could be second reading and have the revisions, if that's acceptable to everybody.
sounds good to me. Everyone okay with that?
Yeah, I'm good.
So that's, in other words, you
I
all
can
have
live with that.
homework. You all have homework,
Is it-
okay? There's a lot of witnesses here. You all have homework.
Do we get graded on who turns it in first?
I was just going to copy your homework. No, kidding.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Mrs. Suter?
I think it's number 3. Page 1, under educational objectives, it says revise bulletin that contains the general administration rules and regulations of the school system to be approved annually by the Board of Education. When does that get approved?
I didn't, what number are you looking at?
No, she
It's under educational, no,
on the policy.
I
Number
believe it's
3 is,
number 3.
number 3 is to approve placements of college.
Oh, no,
No,
sorry.
she means
No,
number 4.
Number 4,
It's a mandated policy.
right, but I'm asking when is the revised, or the bulletin that contains the general administration rules and regulations of the school system? When is that approved by us? It says to be approved annually. I'm just wondering when.
You got to look, see,
Number 3 right there.
number 3.
Yeah.
That's our entire board policies. You got policies and you got regulations that you approve every year. So it's usually done in June, and sometimes maybe September, and you do all your policies and all your regulations, which are so far outdated for the last 20 years in Brick Township that we've been trying to work on.
So that would be on an agenda from somewhere from June
The
to
whole year.
September.
It's all your board policies and all your regulations. that you
Right, but
have.
I'm just asking when does the board
As soon
approve
as
that?
as soon as
That's-
your curriculum, because the board does policy, I don't, I do regulations, and as soon as the board committee says, okay, we're ready, let's get this on the agenda, that's when I put it on. So as soon as the committee tells me, we'll put it on.
Okay.
It'll probably be September, I would think.
Okay, thank you.
You will.
Any other questions? Mr. Tolte, did I see your hand go up?
Yeah, and I answered my question.
Oh, okay, good. Okay.
I just have one other question, if you don't mind, please.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Mrs. Cusinelli?
Just, I think I need to direct it towards Mr. Edwards through the chair. I just wanted to confirm that the number 9, is this just the routine of doing the third time because it's a 3-year grant? There's no changes to anything?
You were correct in that assumption, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any questions from the public on items 1 through 9? Seeing none, Mrs. Carey?
Mr. Tolte?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes.
Ms. Suter?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Cantillo?
Yes. Operations, Mr. Edwards.
Thank you, Mrs. Cantillo. The superintendent recommends that the board approves items 1 through 29.
Do I have a motion and a second for items 1 through 29?
Motion?
Mr. Panucci, was that you?
No.
Mr. Conti?
I'm just throwing my voice now.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mrs. Cusinelli. Are there any questions on items 1 through 29 from the board? Seeing none. Any items on questions 1 through 29 from the public? Seeing none. Mrs. Carey?
Mr. Talty?
Yes?
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes to all, no 26.
Ms. Suter?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Cantillo?
Yes. Moving on to Human Resources, Dr. Caldez.
Thank you, Mrs. Cantillo. The superintendent recommends that the board approve items number 1 through 24 tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Caldez. Do I have a motion and a second for items 1 through 24?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Mr. Panucci.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Do I have any questions from board members on these items?
If I can, Madam President?
Yes.
Just on number 8, I believe, the bus driver supervisors, these are replacing retirees, I assume? They're not new supervisor positions, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That was my only concern. Thank you.
Any other board, Mrs. Suter?
On number 9, to approve employment, I just want to double-check, make sure that all the candidates have met the qualifications that were required on the postings. I'm just asking a question.
Dr. Caldez?
Yes.
Yes, the answer is
Yes.
yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
And I also was unhappy to see Mr. Grover's resignation on here.
Ditto.
I wish you the best of luck, Mr. Grover. You have helped me personally on these computers at these Board of Ed meetings, so you will be missed.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none. Questions from the public on these items? Seeing none. Mrs. Carey?
Mr. Talty?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
I need to abstain on number 8, I believe it is, Mr. Barisi. And I'm going to abstain on item number 16, specifically Stephen Johnson, volleyball assistant coach at Brick Memorial. Yes to the rest. Sorry.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes.
Ms. Suter?
I abstain on 22 and yes to the rest.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Cantillo?
Yes.
Would the new employees for the Brick Township family please come forward and introduce yourself to the Board of Education and welcome.
Start that way.
Shake everybody's hand.
I'm sorry, I think he pointed.
Shake everybody's hand.
He pointed, man. Listen, we're a team.
Good luck. Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
No. Welcome. Congratulations. Welcome. Congratulations. Where are my cold hands? Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. Oh, please, it's my pleasure. Congratulations. 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 Good luck. Good luck. Congratulations. Good luck. Congratulations. 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 Welcome, congratulations. Nice to see you. Hi, congratulations, all the best. Congratulations, all the best.
Congratulations.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Yeah, post that. Post.
Yes. All right. Okay, I will ask any of my fellow board members if they have any comments. Uh-oh. I'm looking at you, and I could see already.
Just want to make sure everybody's having a good summer, that's all.
Okay.
Wasn't so bad.
Nope. Painless. Mr. Conti, now I'm waiting to hear from you.
I'm not going to be that long. I was just hoping that, just a reminder to the rest of the board, I'm actually have the honor of serving on the Strategic Planning Committee for the New Jersey School Boards Association, and I know that there's a like a survey thing that has gone out. If you guys could do me a huge favor, if you haven't already, which I'm sure most of you already have, just fill that out and complete it. It's just asking questions about the direction of the association and kind of where we want it to go for the next 3 years. So if you could do that, that would be wonderful, and I hope everyone's having a wonderful summer as well. Thank you.
Mrs. Cusinelli?
I just wanted to echo what Doc had said about, everybody thinks that the system shuts down for the summer, but it really doesn't. So thank you so much to everybody who is really still working so hard. So, and hope everybody else is enjoying the summer.
Ditto.
Mr. Reed?
Yes, I was really happy to see that we moved forward with the electrical project for Brick Township High School. We've been working on those upgrades for quite a while, and I want to personally thank Mr. Hyphantis, who left already, and Mr. Campbell as our community volunteers that spent a lot of time helping us with a lot of technicalities on the facilities committee. Since we are not experts in all areas, I encourage all committees of the board to bring in community volunteers to help us with the technicalities. It's a lot of work, but it's a big help to the district. So thanks again to Mr. Campbell and Mr. Hyphantis.
Any other board comment? Mr. Tall?
Yes, Ms. Cantel. I'd like to take the time, just a moment, to personally thank Mr. Jim Grofer, who is leaving us. He has done such a marvelous job for us. We have some really talented people in our technology department, and we hated to lose Mr. Parisi, who's moving on to bigger and better things, I hope. Congratulations to you, Tom, Mr. Wiley. We spent a lot of time going over these positions, and as Doc said earlier, there is so many really, really good people that we're interviewing that it's sometimes the choices are very hard. So I want to thank them. I want to thank all of the administrators who are working very hard this summer. A lot of people don't realize how hard they work. I happen to be in a position as a human resource chair to see what's going on. And I want to personally thank all of them for all the time that you put in, and for the lack of a better word, the non-appreciation sometimes of the public. So, thank you very much. That's all, Mrs. Cantel.
I will now open up the floor to the public. Do I have any comments or questions?
You got a question?
It's a question, see?
Come on up.
No question.
I have a question about the summer reading program.
Can you just give your name and address for the record?
Sydney Regis. Okay. I'll be 15 soon, and I go to Brick Memorial High School. And summer reading, I don't think it's we shouldn't have to do it because summer is a time of fun, or it used to be a time of fun. And the summer reading list, I looked up the books and I looked them up, and what if they're not on the same reading level as I or my other classmates? Or if we do have to do summer reading, we should get to pick our own books, and maybe only be one, and just to minimize the work that we have to do over summer. Because it is very stressful to have to worry about, you know, and if we're going into high school to middle school, that's even more stressful. And going into middle school, that's even more hard to worry about. So when we do summer reading and have to do 2 books and do 2 projects on it, I don't see why we have to do that. And there's also financial sides of it too, because the library doesn't have 100 copies of every book. So if the parents aren't able to take their kids out and buy the books that they want to read for the summer reading, then that can also be an issue. So.
Can I make a suggestion, Ms. Cantillo? Can I ask you and your other classmates to come up with a list of books that you could read over the summer? Because I don't think that's going to be going away. And maybe submit that to Mr. Jarman, our English supervisor, and maybe you could get some books at your reading level and the reading level of your classmates, instead of reading the books that are just on the list, because there's so many books out there. So I would suggest maybe you do that for that one part.
Ms. Cantillo?
Thank you.
I want to just thank you very much for coming up and addressing it. And I also want to tell you, in the future, if you would like, go on the website. Do you have a computer? We have access in the school. And email me. Email Dr. Uzinski. You email me with any suggestions like that that you have, and I will bring that up with the principals and the supervisors. All right? Because we look to get our curriculum much more rigorous than what it is. Reading has to be done all the time, continuously, you know, to read. But you bring up very, very, very good points.
One more.
Sure. See that? I triggered it off. See that?
Say that I wanted to get all my reading done, so I won't have to worry about it for the rest of summer. If I knock it out in June, right after I get out of school, and I finish it by July 1st, I'm still not reading for the rest of the summer.
That's a shame, because you should. Because you know what? My granddaughter, who goes to another school district, has many more books than just 2 to read, and she does that. She finishes it up early in June, but myself and my daughter, who's her mom, we mandate that she reads the books. And not only does she read the books, her grandfather and her mom and her dad, who's an attorney, they read the books also, and then we question her. She's a straight A student, and we continue to strive to make her read, but we tell her how important it is, so we read also. Reading is very, very important, so if you could look into trying to force yourself to do enjoyable reading, that would be a wonderful, wonderful thing. And there's books online. You can go right on the computer. You go to the library. There's computers in the library that are free to use, and that you could go on and you can get books right there, right there, and you could sit for an hour and read. Just food for thought for yourself. But please, email me with the wonderful thoughts and ideas that you do have and suggestions, because we will look at those and get back to you. Okay? Thank you very much,
Thank
though.
you very much for coming up. Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none? Wow. That's all I can say. Calendar, August 7th is our board retreat at 6:30 at the Technology Center, and August 28th is our next regular meeting here at Brick Township High School, and I'd like a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Mr.
Second.
Panucci and Mr. Conti, thank you.
Mr. Talty?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes.
Ms. Suter?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Cantillo?
Yes. Good night, everyone, and thank you for coming.